taking me to see basketball?
Or bare knuckle boxing.
We do everything.
I'm Stanley Sugarman. I'm a scout for the 76ers.
Basketball season might be over, but movie season is just getting started. Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks, joined by Ryan Schmelz, Jeffrey Gordon, and Gerald Tracy for a video and audio. And we're going to start with spoiler-free, then get into spoilers for Hustle. And this is the second consecutive drama film Adam Sandler has done with still some good comedic elements. And I think we're going to have some fun with this one.
Yes, it's much better than his last dramatic film, I would say. I was not a fan of Uncut Gems. I am a fan of this movie. This is one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies I think I've seen in recent times.
Adam Sandler, it's like he spent the past 5 to 10 years trying to convince us that he wasn't just a comedy guy. And I love it. I love when he does stuff like this. It was great. I loved him. We'll get more into it, but to me, this is some of his best work.
If you've ever listened to this show, I'm a big advocate of comedic actors doing more dramatic roles. I thought that Adam Sandler is one of those guys who I thought was going to be a great dramatic actor when he got more serious about that. I feel like a lot of his films have given you a glimpse of that over the years. But then with Uncut Gems, he really went all in and gave what I thought was an Oscar-worthy performance. This one, I don't think it's as over the top or unique of a character as the one he plays in Uncut Gems, but it's still, I think, a really strong performance. It's a really strong movie and a very enjoyable one. So it's just crazy to think that this is a Happy Madison production, but I want Happy Madison to keep this up.
Yeah, when they do stuff like this, they're at their best. And the other impressive thing I think about this movie and Uncut Gems actually is he finds professional athletes that are like legit good at acting. Kevin Garnett in Uncut Gems, Juancho Herman Gomez here. Holy crap. Like these two guys are some of the best athletes that have become actors that I've seen on screen. So kudos to them.
And excuse me to interrupt, but Anthony Edwards, like you have to mention him. He's basically the villain of this movie. And he's one of my favorite characters. We'll get more into that later, but he was fantastic, and he's a younger guy. But I think that also it helps when you have LeBron James as a executive producer on it, I believe.
Yeah.
When you have LeBron James, because James has a lot of pull in the league, whether the fans want to admit it or not. That guy has a lot of pull with every player in the league, and if he calls you and says, "Let's do a movie," I don't know how you turn him down. You know.
Kenny Smith also a really strong performance here as well, I think. But yeah, this is a really, and it's a really risky thing to put non-actors in acting positions like this. And I think that Sandler was definitely taking a risk both with Uncut Gems and with this movie. You don't know how these roles specifically are written for who they're written for, especially when you have so many people playing themselves. But I think you got to give a great kudos to the studios for casting these films and not giving anybody anything they can't handle, but also finding people who can handle these roles.
Yeah. And, Ryan said this in the group chat that there's also some very underrated actors in here. Ben Foster is an actor I've not seen in a long time, and having him as the main villain role, in a sense, like the other main villain, I think was great too. Queen Latifah is also great as Sugarman's wife. Everything about this movie is just fantastic. And it really plays into the realism of the NBA because you have real executives too. You have Brad Stevens in this movie.
Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban. I think they did their research, and it really opens your eyes to what a professional scout does on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, there's some wild stuff that happens in there, but nothing seems super, super unnatural. In many cases, I feel like there's a lot of authenticity that comes with this. And I'm saying this this movie has parts where they're like trying to mimic streaming platforms, which was probably something I wasn't a huge fan of, but it did seem like this was a very grounded movie for how over the top they could have probably made it.
Very grounded, very deep. The storyline, storyline's kind of emotional too. When you look at it, how the excuse me, Honcho. I'm just
Wancho.
blinking. Wancho.
Wancho.
How halfway through, whenever Stanley's daughter asks her why doesn't he have a tattoo, he's like, "Where's the dad tattoos?" And then at the end of the movie, he's wearing Adam Sandler. He's wearing. Well, I don't want to get into spoilers yet, do we? But
Yeah.
there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes into this movie. I think it makes it a great drama and everything. And it's not a story we haven't seen before. Like, we know that, right? Like, we've seen this kind of story in sports movies where the coach becomes a father figure for a player who has a lot of raw potential. And it's essentially what this is. It's just, it goes deeper than that. And like I think we've already hit on, obviously, these basketball players turned in a great performance. These guys turned in like real actors, and that's thanks because this isn't a normal Adam Sandler comedy where you just have to be goofy. You have to actually have acting chops in this. So
And I'd say too, the storyline still does feel pretty original. I think the movie, honestly, that came to mind when I was watching this, and I had a lot of Moneyball type of feelings towards this. It's a lot of the behind the scenes of the sport. And with that being said, though, it's a big time behind the scenes movie. But I'm sitting here thinking some of the best. We just saw some of the best basketball sequences we probably ever seen in Hollywood cinema. And we see it in a movie where you don't actually get an official game of basketball the entire time. And I
Yeah.
think that was pretty impressive.
I think there's also like shades of Rocky in this movie, and obviously it's set in Philadelphia, so that's where one of the references come with. The training montage is one of the best training montages I've seen in like 10 years. It's so good. I've been listening to the song during that montage for 2 weeks straight now. I love it so much.
A lot of King Richard qualities. Now that that comes to mind too, I would say it's like a Rocky, King Richard, and Moneyball mixed into one. It's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
Gerald, do you want to say anything?
no, I'm good with the non-spoiler talk. I want to get to the spoilers, favorite scenes, and everything.
I'm still so proud of myself for this message I sent to our group chat though the other day that I have to read it out loud real quick before we get into our final reviews and then get into spoiler territory. But so here it is. The year is 2012. The last Twilight movie just came out, with Jack and Jill coming out the previous year. You learn that in 10 years, 2022 will consist of Kristen Stewart getting nominated for every award during awards season, Robert Pattinson starring in a Batman film that some argue is on the same level as The Dark Knight, and Adam Sandler and Queen Latifah will star in one of the best dramas of the year. Do you believe them?
Not at all. Not at all. Especially the Adam Sandler part, because that was still the time when Adam Sandler was bringing in the Latino women to play his wives every time in every movie. Always bringing in the who was it?
Jack and Jill was also
Salma Hayek. Was it Salma Hayek?
Salma Hayek a few times. There was, I think, one of the girl, the what's her name from Modern Family.
Was she his wife in one of those?
I think she was one of like the grown-ups or something like that, right? Am I wrong? Regardless, no, I wouldn't believe you, Ryan.
Oh man, you could, because after Jack and Jill came out, you were like, man, are we ever going to get Adam Sandler back? Like, this is a whole new low. And then like you think about Pattinson and Stewart, like, my goodness, like, I mean, I guess they were still young, so they had plenty of time to redeem themselves, but it was
plenty of time. And I think those movies, like, even the actors themselves, and they would do those interviews later, they said, we had no idea what the hell was going on during production or during shooting. Like, there was stuff we'd be like, would my character really say or do this? So, I mean, I think it's always been understood, even in Hollywood, and I mean, maybe less in pop culture, like in popular opinion, but now more than ever, it's just like, everybody who was in that was fine, except for Taylor Lautner. I mean, that guy obviously never really did anything.
He's doing some direct-to-DVD movies now, so I mean, he's still working.
So we want more serious from Adam Sandler in the future?
We do want more serious. I want Adam Sandler to be nominated for an Oscar, so I don't want him to stop until we at least get that. So.
And like, I love Adam Sandler, I do, and I love his comedy movies. It's just, I feel like we've seen just about everything we can from him when it comes to the comedy genre. Almost becoming predictable, definitely. Huey's Halloween was the closest I had laughed to I think it was Huey's Halloween that he did like 2 years ago or maybe a year ago. But that was the closest I got to laughing at a recent Adam Sandler movie before this one. And It wasn't
and
that good.
I think a movie like this in Uncut Gems really does fit him perfectly, where it's like it's a
Yeah.
serious topic, but it's got plenty of comedic elements where we can still see that talent from him shine
Yeah.
through. But
Yeah,
it can tap into his goofiness, but also tap into his acting chops. And I think this one definitely did that. I think Uncut Gems really did a great job of that. So we'll see how that all plays out. Um, Final reviews before we get into spoiler talk.
it's gonna be tough because I have it in between a Hall of Fame and an All Star. I think I'm gonna put it at an All Star. I think it's good. I think there is some sports cliches in there that kind of hold it back. Like when we get into spoilers, I'll talk about that a little bit, but that's really the only thing. The movie is solid across the board. It's one of the best acted movies you'll see based on a sport, so all star for me.
All Star, yeah.
Yeah, I'm at All Star. I think for a lot of the same reasons Jeff did. I didn't think there was anything that just really like blew you away with this movie that kind of was like groundbreaking in that sense. But I think that they did all the solid things that makes a good sports movie or makes a good movie in general really, really well. So that's why it's an all-star. Just I think like there's just it feels like there's like just a little thing that's like missing. You know, you have to have that moment, that Hall of Fame moment like we had in Coda, where we had like 5 Hall of Fame moments in that movie. But I think it was kind of just missing a couple of those like true elements that took it to the next level. But still very, very great and very impressive film and one of the best of the year so far.
For sure.
All right. So we'll go into any memorable scene that stood out to you.
I mean, obviously the training montage, which I mentioned, this movie does great with montages. Let's just say that I love the opening 10 minutes of the movie when he's going from country to country and he's eating different fast food every single night. I thought that was hilarious, where it's like Taco Bell, Pizza Hut, all these things in this foreign country. And, he's talking to his daughter on the phone and his wife, and then he's comes home and he lets his daughter do something. And then Queen Latifah gets mad. It's a first 10 minutes. Very good.
Any scene where Anthony Edwards and Honcho are playing basketball together, um, I felt like they had some of the best chemistry next to him and Adam Sandler in the movie. Um, and I really enjoyed seeing how Anthony Edwards was just pushing his buttons. And I think we all knew too in that last time he did it, whenever he about got beat up, like we knew exactly where he was going with it. Like he was immediately about to attack the daughter, and I think it was still like the way it played out still came out very well.
I think the scrimmages were some of the best parts of this movie. I already talked about how these basketball sequences were really phenomenal. And that scene in particular, yes, where Anthony Edwards just gets in his head, was very strong. And yeah, it kind of put that oh crap in your head. Like, what's going to happen here? Is he going to break him? I think maybe one scene that really I liked was the first practice sequence when Adam Sandler kind of officially becomes his personal trainer / coach. I just love the way Sandler talks to him. I love the dynamic they have together. Their chemistry is great the whole movie, but like when they're at practice, just when Adam Sandler kind of like, he's kind of like babying him a lot of the time early in the movie and like sucking up to him because, he's trying to recruit him to the NBA. But then the minute he gets to be the coach and he gets into coach mode, it all changes and he is just getting in this young man's head. He's motivating him and it's a lot of fun to watch. And Adam Sandler really thrives in those scenes.
Absolutely. I want to talk about something that bothers me, which is why it keeps me from voting this movie as a Hall of Fame, though. I feel like we are shown almost two different honchos in this movie, in the sense that the one that in his home country is the one that has his head on straight. He puts everything on his shoulder. Bo Cruz makes sure his daughter's fed. He quits everything. He's a construction worker. And then the second he gets away from all that, he's a giant child who orders 5 Philly cheesesteaks and only takes a bite out of every single one of them. It just feels like it felt like it was almost two different characters, like a little too jarry. It's nothing that like it goes back and forth on. It's just that like sudden change in personality to me was a little weird to just give us a little bit of a laugh.
And as you're saying this, I'm like thinking about it and I'm trying to think if they could have done something to maybe get around that and symbolize it, because you're definitely right, it's a flaw. Now I'm trying to see where this could make sense for the character, because I think it would make sense if you kind of made the argument like, hey, this is what happens when you have a guy who's working his butt off and really doesn't have much, and then you kind of give him everything. You give him room service, you give him the 5-star hotel, you give him expensive drinks and snacks and all that stuff. I think you could have explained that. Maybe if they would have spent like another scene talking about that, like, hey, you can't let money go to your head, like, because if you make an NBA roster, you're gonna have even more money than what you're being offered right now with this 5-star hotel. Like, this is going to be an everyday occurrence for you, and it's going to be even more lavish. Like, I think maybe they could have had a conversation about that, and maybe to justify that a little bit. But you're absolutely right in a way too.
To me, it just didn't make, because like he went from a guy who has his head on straight, who is just trying to put his head down and make sure his daughter's provided for, to a guy who was 22 again. And to be fair, I think that's about the age, or he was like 21, 22. So
22,
I think
yeah.
you could also make that argument. But there was like a little bit of me that was like, okay. And it never really was explained, because his only flaw throughout this whole movie was that he got pissed off when people talk trash.
Yeah. Well, the thing that bothered me about this movie was the fallout in the middle of the movie, when somehow his record in Spain got leaked to the press, and then like all this Philadelphia media just ran with this story, and he wasn't really like a sought after prospect at that point. So I don't think that the media would blow something like that out of proportion for a guy projected probably to be a second round pick, if that. So I didn't like that part of the movie.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of what we get in media now. Whenever they're in, as ironic as this sounds, the media makes the news media, people like me and you look like vultures. So, I mean, when you talk about news reporters in a TV show or a movie, that's how it always is. It bothered me for sure, but that's just because that's almost like I was personally attacked. But it's kind of just like, it's unrealistic as hell. But that's just what we get in movies and TV shows whenever they portray our jobs.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I'm going to disagree here, but I think kind of like I think it served a purpose in a way, and I don't think it was really about the media to serve in this scene. I think it was more of the fact that the owner's son was able to play, leak this to the press and get the story out there on my terms, so I can pretty much vilify Adam Sandler's character because he chewed me out in a parking lot and cussed at me. That's where I got that. I thought, because I think like I slightly disagree with that, just because I think like that really did elevate Ben Foster's character to that point of, oh, I really don't like this guy. Because you get like the idea that he's there. You kind of feel like he's gonna do something dastardly at some point in this scene. Like they tease it the whole movie, and then there's like a couple scenes in there you're just like, wow, this guy really is like a jerk. And I think that leaking was kind of served that purpose in a way.
I just thought the blowback was too extreme, honestly. Like, for an unknown prospect, I'm just looking at a real life perspective of it, but that's just me.
Well, real life perspective of it, the owner's son would never go on TV and talk trash about a scout of all people.
Yeah, and he wasn't. Like, he was technically the owner when he did it too.
Yeah. Like realistically, like that would never happen. Dang well, GMs out there they barely talk on camera. I mean, Mark Cuban's like the most vocal one.
Well,
I guess the Microsoft guy.
And I think us, we take PR classes in college, and we have a lot of friends who do it, and it's potentially something that we could be doing down the road at one point in our lives. Like, I feel like this situation also could have been solved by like Adam Sandler and Bo just sitting down and doing a sit down interview and getting their side of the story out there. Like, cause that's like, I know Jeff and I always get mad about media scenes in movies. Like, the fact that they didn't get reached out to. Yeah. It's just like an old, like, okay. It's like, no, that would never, if we were covering that story, like there would have been phone calls in to Bo Cruz's side of the aisle, or Bo Cruz's side, and to any official affiliated with him to get his statement or a comment or anything like that. And I feel like that didn't happen.
And we would have tried to get the documents out of Spain.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
before you because before you even run that, you have to confirm that the dude was actually arrested, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so like you can't just run that on air. That's defamation. That's a lawsuit. So like yeah, like it's like this is what we get when we watch movies that do portray journalists, because the only media anybody ever sees is the BuzzFeeds, the TMZs, the people that do stuff like that, right? Nobody really knows how ESPN works behind the scenes, even with those commercials. Nobody really knows how my station works or your station works. So that's just what we get sometimes, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
we should move
Well,
on.
yes.
All right. Let's get our top 5 characters, starting with Gerald.
Adam Sandler. Are we just doing one at a time right now? Yes.
Let's just
No,
let's run
do
them.
your top 5. Do your top 5.
All right. Adam Sandler, Stanley Sugarman, Honcho Hernan Gomez as Bo Cruz. I'm going to take up. Oh man, I just said his name the whole time. Why am I blanking on his
Anthony
name?
Edwards.
Anthony Edwards. Loved him in this. Kenny Smith is Leon, and then Ben Foster is Vince Merrick. Those are my top 5.
I think I'm going to go the first 4 that Gerald had, but number 5, I'm going to do Queen Latifah's character instead of Ben Foster's.
So yeah, I've got a similar top 5. I'm kind of shuffling things up a little bit here, making sure I got it.
No, you're good. While you do that,
I have Stanley number 1. I have Bo Cruz at number 2. I actually had Ben Foster's character at number 3. I think we needed to see more of him, and I wish that storyline would have gotten a little bit more resolution than it did. But I guess when kind of the two guys who are at each other's heads are now working for each other once again, it's kind of hard to really like go any farther with that story. But at the same time, I think Ben Foster was actually underutilized in this movie. I thought he inflicted a lot of emotion from me watching this movie, and I was like, I want to see more of this guy, because I've always felt Ben Foster is a super underrated actor. He plays a similar character in a lot of the movies he's in, and in some of the movies he's in, he's a lot more evil than he is in this one. So really underutilized, especially when he plays like somewhat of a villain role. I'm kind of at mixed. It was either between Anthony Edwards' character or Queen Latifah, because I thought they were both absolutely strong. I thought Queen Latifah and Adam Sandler's chemistry was phenomenal. Like, they both fit their roles like gloves, and I think they both did a really good job here.
I do agree. On that. I had trouble picking between Queen Latifah and Ben Foster. Excuse me.
Any
Heart
characters?
attack.
Any characters you think could have been better?
Jordan Hole as Alex Sugarman. I don't think she could have been better. I liked her. I do think she could have been utilized a little more than just kind of the one that's going to remind everybody that social media exists. The fact that she, like, how old was she? And she was over here making videos and editing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know where you fit her into it, because I don't really want more film.
I felt like there could have been a couple more father-daughter scenes, because they they addressed that relationship early, like, oh, I haven't been around, like I missed a lot of birthdays, and then you never really got like that one-on-one scene. I think that they kind of needed to really take that character arc to the next level. And I felt like the Cat Maverick, who played Vince Maverick's sister, or who was Vince Maverick's sister in the story, you kind of see her at the beginning, but then you don't see her again until the end. I felt like her role was kind of just there, didn't really serve much of a purpose, other than to get Stanley back into his coaching position. And I guess they were kind of trying to symbolize that Stanley did have allies within the organization, just not with the younger Maverick.
Yeah, I would say probably if you added a little bit more of the sister throughout the movie, I think it would have had a bigger impact than just like a bookend at the start and then, at the end. So I would agree with you there.
I do love Robert Duvall also.
Yeah, he should have been in it more. He was in it for like 5 minutes.
But
Well,
all-time great.
the character dies. Yeah.
Yeah,
He-
Jeff.
He's very old, so I guess he wasn't going to be on set for a
He was
few
like,
weeks or something.
I will go and show up on set, but you have to kill my character off within 3 scenes. Like, that was his stipulation. Contract said plays 3 scenes in the funeral picture. That's it.
Well, we've reviewed like 2 movies in a row where like arguably our favorite actor in the whole movie gets killed off after like a couple scenes. Like we did this with Val Kilmer. Oh crap! Spoiler.
See, and it wasn't me this time.
Somebody in Top Gun dies.
Well, you just said the movie. You could have said Batman Forever or something.
Yeah, you could have said like another movie, or you didn't have to. Oh man,
Oops.
It's fine. It's the number
Digging
one movie of the year.
yourself.
Everyone is
Yeah.
simple.
You guys are gonna hold this over my head now.
No, that's cool.
I always get on you guys.
I spoiled this like 5 minutes in. What are you talking about?
I'm the one who I'm the one who complains about the spoilers. So like, it's fine for you guys to do it because you don't get annoyed when other people do it.
Oh, I do.
See, I'm like the boy who cried wolf, or like just a giant hypocrite right now because I spoiled the movie.
The power of editing, let's just say.
Yeah, I'll put the bleep over whatever movie Val Kilmer was
There
in.
we go.
If like, because people totally won't be able to figure that out.
We're talking about The Saint from the late 90s. That's
How about you just
wow.
bleep? How about you just bleep every time we say Val Kilmer's name? So when you go back and you have to listen to it, you can just bleep out Val Kilmer's name. I think you said Val Kilmer about 6 times now, 7 times. So Val Kilmer has been said 8 times now. So I think you should just go through and 9 times now, 10 times if you count the fact that I'm about to say Val Kilmer. just bleep his name out every time, and nobody will ever know that you talked about Val Kilmer.
I don't know if I have time and energy to do that. All right. Did our anything change after talking about the movie more in depth, or do we still feel the same way we do?
Still good.
Yeah, I feel great. This is a very good Adam Sandler movie. If this was a weak year for movies, if this was, what is it, 2020, 2021, like this is getting nominated for at least an Oscar, some kind of Oscar, I think, or at least some kind of award. I just think this year is very strong, and I don't know that a Netflix movie will get nominated that isn't something like grand and like, star, like something huge. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see a lot of nominations for this, but it thoroughly deserves something.
Yeah, this has been a very strong year for movies so far. We've only had one blockbuster that I can think of off the top of my head that has been a disappointment, and I know that's heartbreaking for Jeff to.
It's making money. It beat Lightyear at the box office. I don't even care at this point.
I guess you consider that a disappointment too. But we've had. I mean, gosh, Top Gun, Doctor Strange was strong. The Batman really exceeded expectations. It's
Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sonic 2 was freaking great. Chip and Dale was freaking great. There's so many movies that are just this year that have been good. You already said Coda, right?
Coda was last
year, but
oh yeah, you're right. It's my bad.
Top Gun Maverick is
Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
I mean, Jurassic World's a good movie. There's just not enough dinosaurs, in my opinion. Like that's the thing I was thinking about today. Is there's not enough
movie with
dinosaurs.
that big of a budget and there's hardly any dinosaurs?
No, well, I mean, if we want to go on a nerd rant and everything, I could go into it with you, but they really took inspiration from the Michael Crichton books and they put a different type of plot in there, and I appreciate it.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Got any announcements before we head out?
Leave us some reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you listen to the show, you like it, show us some love on there. That'll help us out with the algorithm and reviews and everything like that. So that's what I got.
Subscribe on YouTube.
That too. We're almost to 20. Give us there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Box Office Quarterbacks and another episode of Good Friends and Real Talk. And we will see you later.